Hello, I am Brian Foster, and today I am talking about Spiritism. And today we are going through Q&A, questions and answers about Spiritism. Before I begin, let us have a short prayer. Dear Jesus, please protect us and help the world avoid any types of rumor war, clouds of war, any type of upcoming violence on behalf of nations and regions. And please help us to resolve everything peacefully as we will someday when we become a planet of regeneration. Amen. So before I begin, also is if you want to know more about Spiritism, I suggest you download in PDF form, or you can buy at Amazon or on the FEB bookstore website, The Spirits Book by Allan Kardec. It's actually, I should say, codified by Allan Kardec. He had a series of 1,019 questions he asked for spirits, and the spirits were organized by the Spirit of Truth as promised to us by Jesus in the New Testament. He also wrote the Medium's Book, which is all about if you're interested in mediumship and in spirits and how to tell one level of spirit from another. That is a must read. And then the Gospel according to Spiritism. You also may want to get an overview of Spiritism. It's a very easy read. I have a book called Spiritism 101, The Third Revelation. You can download that in PDF for free on nwspiritism.com in French or English. You can also, of course, get Spiritism 101, The Third Revelation in Kindle format. It's only 99 cents. Paperback, I can't remember the price, but it's less than 100 pages or around 100 pages, or in Audible format. So hopefully that will give you a good overview. Some people want to start with the Spirits book. Some people want to start with Spiritism 101. It's all up to how do you want to learn. I suggest you do Spiritism 101, give you a quick overview, and then the Spirits book hopefully will make more sense to you. But that's all up to you, however you would like to approach Spiritism and how to see the life that you're living. And this is why we're here today, because we're here to answer questions as well as I can. I far be it from me to be an expert at anything. The spirit world has given us little peeks, right? It's like learning about the spirit world by peering through one of those old fashioned keyholes into a room. You just see things go by, and what this is like, the spirits communicate to us. The spirits have been communicating to us about Spiritism since the 1850s when Allan Kardec first codified the Spirits book. But since then, there's been books by Leon Denis, Chico Xavier, Francisco C. Xavier, lots of great books by Francisco C. Xavier, the Juan Andre Luis series of books, Devaldo Franco, Yvonne Pereira, many wonderful spiritist mediums. So let us go. Now, if you have a question, please put that in the comments. I will take that as the first priority. If not, I will start taking questions from what people have sent me before. So as I said before, if you have a question and you haven't seen this this live stream, if you're later, you see it recorded, give me the questions in the comment section. I am always notified when I have comments and when I have new comments, and I will write down those questions and then I'll answer those questions. Okay, let's take the first one. In the medium's world, is there any reference or mention about Dr. Elihu Goldratt? He was an Israeli physics PhD and a real genius, and made immense advancements in the world of business management and also in the world of human relations and solving any types of conflicts. No, I have not seen any mentioned to him in anything I've read, any mediums meetings I've been in, or any YouTube video, even by Portuguese speakers. So I'm sorry, I have not seen anything about him. That doesn't mean he's not a wonderful and exciting person, because we're told all the time by spirits that the people who are kind of least recognized are the ones probably doing really good work and are the shining examples. And so probably someone like Dr. Goldratt, he may be writing papers and having students, and they're the ones that will affect more and more. There'll be a snowball effect. of his teaching will help people, will help in the world of human relations and solving types of conflicts, which to me seems like a really worthwhile mission on Earth. And so you never know. So don't take that as a negative. Just take that as the spirit world. Is not going to force publicize everyone good on the earth. That's going to be done with word of mouth and very subtly. Okay. Next question. And I thought this was this very interesting question. I think a lot of people ask this about the self-awareness of being alive and the memories we have since we have lived many lives for thousands of years. But the current life is the only one we know. When we die and in between reincarnations, are we aware of our current existence as a spirit the same way we are aware of our own existence now? Is it the same feeling? I am wondering because it's very hard to digest the idea that we have had so many lives and we don't know anything about them. And while being dead, we also do not have any memories about. I'm wondering, how is it like in between the phases of being alive and dead? It's very hard to explain my question. I hope you understand. And I think I do understand. If I don't, please let me know. But I took this so seriously that I actually wrote an article. I don't know when I'm going to publicize it yet, but I want to go through what I wrote and make sure I believe what people are worried about, because I think it gets down to the question of, who am I? Do I stay me, the real me? What is the real me? Do I change? Do I become something different? Do I become, as other, spiritualists will say, they'll become part of the whole? No, you're not going to become a part of the whole. So let me try to answer this question, because it's a great question, and I think it's in the minds of many people. So I believe it is unsure of the real you, between the spirit and the physical. Who is the real you? Okay, so many, and I'll read this, and then this will be on your screen so you can read it through too. But I wanted to really set this down instead of me just talking off the top of my head. I wanted to go over this. Many are able to grasp the concept of transitioning from our physical bodies to our spirits. But a central question remains. If we always have a spirit that still resides in the spirit realm, what happens when we return? Are we the same? Does our personality change? Now, these are all reasonable questions. Let me explain. There are two repositories of our intelligence while we are in physical form. The first is our spirit, an encapsulation of our memories, our intelligence, personality, and character. It is updated constantly via the perispirit, that what connects our spirit to our body and attached to every cell we have. So let me bring up this picture I have, the perispirit. So here, let me show this in the stream. Let me explain this a little bit more. Our spirit is in the spirit world. Our spirit is this intelligent, with the encapsulation of our personality. It's us. It's the sum total of us, the sum total of all our lives, everything. We may not be able to peer back that far, depending on our level and our capacity, but it has links to everything once we have permissions to follow those links. Then we have the perispirit, which is a kind of an ethereal covering. Now, when we are in the spirit world, that perispirit is our self-representation. And that is, let's say I die, and I'll say, no, I like how I look when I was about 30 better. So I'll have hair, less fat, right? So that I will look that way, because your mind, right? Thought is action in the spirit world. Now, when you're in the physical body, your perispirit is connected to your spirit. So there's and it's like that long silvery cord they talk about, right? And that perispirit is attached to every cell in your human body, and of course your brain. So everything you feel, think, learn, interact with people, it all goes up to the spirit. Now, data comes back from the spirit too, like dreams, like when you're in the spirit world and you're dreaming. And yet that data comes back into your brain, but then your brain, who is a not as smart as your paraspirit, I mean, as your spirit, I should say, and doesn't have the grasp of this different dimensions, because the dimension of time is right there, right in the spirit world. There's no time per se, but you see time. It's a force of action where you can see the beginning, the middle, and the end of things, depending on your level of being a spirit. So there's many things you just can't grasp, and so that you have your brain tries to understand it through symbology. That's why, like these dream books, they always say, water means this. Well, not necessarily. It's how you perceive. It's what that symbol means to you, not to that book. But a lot of that have pretty general ideas. So that's why sometimes those are helpful. I always say with dreams, the best way with dreams is to see how you feel. If you feel good, you feel energized, you feel positive, you were probably somewhere in heaven. If not, you were probably in the lower zone or below. So that is the that. So let me go back to what I was reading, because I think I want to be very clear in this. Okay. Second is our physical brain, a lesser mechanism to house our personality and memory. It certainly has its limitations in regard to our spirit intelligence. The other thing I'd like to point out, people say, everyone's equal, right? And that's equal before the law. We know that doesn't mean we're equal as far as physical ability or even intellectual ability. I'm not as smart as many people, and I certainly could never be a basketball or football player or any type of track and field. But in the spirit world, everyone is intellectually equal. It doesn't mean everybody knows the same. It means you have the capacity. If you want to work, you want to be a genius with art or music, and you concentrate on that, you can. It's up to you. It's up to your dedication and the amount of work you do. Okay, let me keep going on. Our physical brain does not have the speed or the computing capacity or the ability to receive status from our acute senses that we possess in our spirit body. Let me give you an example. A person I know had an out-of-body experience. He had journeyed to his spirit body. He was in a library in the spirit world. He sat on a wooden chair, which was in the middle of the room, with columns and bookcases surrounding him. He decided to stand up. He had his head slightly skewed in relation to the opposing wall. When he stood up, the wooden legs made a scraping sound on the floor. He could detect a minuscule difference between the time the sound echoed off the wall, reaching his body from his right ear to his left ear. So he had his ears weren't perfectly aligned with the wall. They were off a little bit, and he could tell the difference in the sound coming. Now, in our physical body, no way. So this is commonplace and not extraordinary in the spirit world, but impossible in physical form for us physical beings. So, hence, during waking hours in the physical body, we operate with an inferior brain capacity, but everything we experience and think is uploaded, unbeknownst to our conscious awareness, to our spirit brain. Any changes in our personality and character are transmitted to our spirit on a continual basis. Therefore, we are the same personality even after our physical brain has decayed away. Again, also I want to say is the paraspirit that connects our physical brain to our spirit brain. As you get older, you get more filters, and you kind of learn what to not acknowledge and filter out all that. That's why young people, some really young people, will talk about their past lives. They'll talk about the spirit world, because and usually those things when they're about 7, they just forget all of that. But 7 and younger, they'll have these thoughts come in their mind, like, oh yeah, I did this, and then people will think, he's just imagination. But it's kind of that paraspirit sending back information back and forth. So I always thought that's interesting. So yeah, listen to little kids. Sometimes they'll say things, and sometimes it's just nonsense, but sometimes there's something in there. Okay. So as I said, we're the same personality. Even our physical body, is gone. Nevertheless, there are differences. Once we return to the spirit world, our thoughts run faster and we have full memories of what we did on earth. And I mean full, to the millisecond. And input to our senses is greatly magnified. Otherwise, overall, we feel the same when we first pass over. This is why so many people do not realize they are no longer in the physical body. And I've seen this many times in mediums meetings, like, I'm dead? Yeah, you're dead. And he goes, I wonder why everybody ignored me in my house, right? Because they'll go there, and of course they can walk through walls, which is, they don't because, because of habit. If they wanted to, they could easily walk through walls. Okay. Over time, depending on the level of a spirit, the abilities to search remote memories, send communication and images by thought, and other superior attributes are rediscovered. But our personality remains. The alterations we made via lessons learned on Earth are not overlaid with some backup copy. We continue to grow with new experiences in the physical and spirit planes. So, let's look at it as your physical brain is a database. It's always updating your spirit brain. So when you die, it's not like, oh, let's just reset that. Everything you did on earth, forget that. We'll reset. No, it's everything's always backed up, and your personality changes. And as you wake up in the spirit, you are you. You have more attributes and you have more chances to query things, and you're smarter and faster, and your senses are hugely better, but you are you. So when you're in the spirit world, you still want to learn. You still have all these, you still have the same emotions. These don't change. If you're pickpocket and lazy in the physical world, you're the same in the spirit world. And you probably won't be in one of the levels of heavens. You'll be somewhere in the lower zone. If you're positive and loving, you're going to be positive and loving in the spirit world. If you worry about your family on earth, you'll learn in heaven. You can still worry about them, but don't worry. But please don't, because they're on a path. They're on a plan, and it's just a very small moment in time. They'll get through it and they'll learn from it. Okay, so as we continue to learn and evolve in the spirit world, the state of our spirit intelligence is dynamic. When we return to a physical body, and we have reached the age where our personality and character start to seep into our physical brain between the ages of 15 and 20, it is our current personality that is copied over, they come in there. Plus, since each of us are given the gift of our conscience and instincts at birth, again, it is the updated and most recent version of both that are with us. So it's always the latest. Therefore, in summary, we are constantly updated. Nothing is ever lost. We are slower and much more unaware in the physical plane, but each and every small alteration to our moral and intellectual foundation is faithfully transmitted to our spirit receptacle, so that we notice no different in our thought and opinions when we exit the physical life. So you know who you are all the time, and you'll go through an adjustment period of trying to figure out, what happened? What did I do? There we go. Let me hide this. Trying to figure out, the differences in the spirit plane versus the physical plane, because you are still you. Okay, let me answer some questions. Okay, this question is free will. Are there any circumstances in the physical realm, spirit world, whereby free will is withdrawn, suspended, pending the conditions being resolved, etc., then free will is reinstated? That's a good question, and I think I have found some examples of that. First of all, free will is always, with a little exception, I think. That's what you're asking. But as a general rule, it's always respected in the spirit realm. Now, people will argue that there's predestination and that everything is going to happen to us. They know what's going to happen to us. But your choices and your ability to learn is not is up to you during your trials on Earth. But like kids in school, and this changes as you go to higher planets, like kids in school, you're heavily regulated. And like first graders and kindergartners, you don't even know you're heavily regulated, right? You go from one play thing to another play thing, right? And you're just going around thinking, oh, okay, this is great. It's kind of like us, but we are heavily manipulated in our trials and tribulations. If you have to have two marriages and both of them end in divorce, a rancorous divorce, that was probably planned. If your car was stolen, that was probably planned. If you had cancer, that was probably planned. Not everything, but I'm just saying those are some of the major things. So when I say shamelessly manipulated, so there are instances, and I'll give you an instance in the physical world and an instance in the spirit world. And I believe this happened to me too, but I'll go into what was in one of the books. This woman was on a self-destructive course. And she was in a bar. She was going to go out with a bunch of men and really do something extremely stupid. And the spirit world says, we shouldn't let her do that. So they went and they made her so sick she could barely function. And so that's technically not interfering with her free will, but in practice, even if she wanted to go do something, she couldn't do it. And that happened to me one time. But because there was something I wanted to do, and it's funny because I read this part and I go, well, that happened to me. There's something I wanted to do. There's a choice I wanted to make. It was going to be a big choice. And I was so sick, I couldn't do anything. I was just in bed. And then I just gave up. I didn't do it. I go, they probably did that to me. So, technically they might have gotten away with it, but yes, we're manipulated in that way. Now, let's go in the physical, the spirit plane. So in the book, Memoirs of a Suicide, great book by Yvonne Pierre. I recommend that's one of the best books. I've read that book over and over. Read that book. So they was talking about suicides, and they're in this suicide hospital, and they said, and then Camilo Branco, kind of the one who wrote the book, he's one of the people I would really love to meet in the spirit world because what a great writer. And he went to this place, and there was a spirit, and he was actually kept in prison. And he was kept in prison because if he was in the spirit world, he would work to try and obsess people to make them commit suicide so he and his gang could torture them and use and abuse them. And they were going through with him saying, look, you're not, why are you like this? Look what you, and they showed him scenes from how he treated his mother and father horribly, how he treated different women in his life horribly. And they did not let him out of there because if he said, do you want to go? He'd say, yeah, I want to go. And he would have just created havoc. So they kept him in this place, I think, for about 30 plus years. At the time, I didn't read anything further about him being let out. So, yeah, I think there are cases where it's withdrawn or, I think suspended, like you said, is a better word. And then they'll, okay, the danger's over, like in the physical plane, like with the example I said, okay, you're okay again. Go have your free will, you idiot. And then in the spirit world, they might just say, okay, they might then put him on, if he doesn't become a better person and try to get him to improve himself, they would probably say, okay, we'll give you free will again, but we're sending you to another planet, a primitive planet where you belong. They're probably trying to help him and keep him on the earth, but that's what they would do. So I hope that answers that question. It's a lot of good questions here. Okay. If God exists, why don't we have a book? Okay, so, and let me do a couple because these are all, there's another good one. Can I join you? I think you're joining us here. I don't have a Zoom meeting, but I might try that later where people can actually join, but might limit the number of people. We'll see about that. Okay. And then, so first he said is, If God exists, why don't we have a book? And if why God is not clear with humans about what he is or what he wants us to do. So those are perfectly reasonable questions. And let me give you what I believe is a reasonable answer. If God came down to earth and told everybody on earth right now, look, there's reincarnation and there's karma. Everything you do bad will come back and hit you in the you know what. And you better be good, right? So people would be good for a while because they would fear what God told them, that you're going to end up in these bad situations, you're going to have worse trials on earth. But like any of the people that that aren't really good people, the longer you're with them, they can't hide themselves, right? Everyone's seen this. They would revert back to their true nature. Eventually, 3 months, 6 months, a year, they go, I think that was a massive psychosis event. We were all dreaming. And they would go back and they would be exactly the way they were before. Instead, just like a teacher who doesn't give you the answers to the test, that will help you learn about the answers, the spirit world does the same. We have to modify our own character and personality, rip out the primitive emotions, hate, envy, all of that, pride, and replace it with civilized emotions, love, charity, fraternity, honesty. Then, when you have that as the foundation, it doesn't make a difference if God or Jesus comes to earth and says, hey, you should be good. And they go, yeah, I know that. I want to be good. That is my foundation of my moral character. That is why. And we have all of our own journey to do this. And that's why I say it's really important for people to study about Spiritism and study about why you're here, because that is the gist of why you're here. The earth is nothing more than a campus. It's an educational facility for you to alter and transform your character and your personality. And to do that, every day you must work at rewiring your brain and not saying malicious gossip about people, not thinking bad things, wishing bad thoughts, right? Love everyone doesn't mean you have to love them and invite them over for dinner, even if they're your enemy. You just have to say, stop thinking bad about them and just know that you've probably done as bad as they have in this life, in some previous life, because you're not perfect and you're living and you're just at a different trajectory on your spiritual maturity and the number of lives you had. Or some people rise faster, some people rise very slow, probably like me. I think I'm one of those who Spiritism say you just park in life after life. You keep making the same mistakes. And I think I've done that. So then there's one other thing. If God wanted to make us all good, we could all just be rubber stamp robots and all be good. You're good. We'd be like ants. Do our job. We'd all be the same, right? But God, the spirit world, wants people with unique personalities. And the huge variation of trials we all go through ensures that the trillions upon trillions, maybe quadrillions of spirits, will all have uniqueness about them. God doesn't want the same cookie cutter for everybody. These people, well, you'll become a pure spirit. You'll become loving, fraternal, charitable, want to be of service to others, but you'll do it in your own little unique way. So this will make life in heaven in the spirit world exciting. I hope that answers the question. Okay, another question. Why I believe in God, but all the religions I study do not make any sense, and no one is the truth from God. Well, I'm right with you. In fact, now, Spiritism may not make sense to you either, but it made sense to me. In the religions I studied, I went through all sorts of different ways because I had questions I wanted answered. I said, I don't think so. Until I read the Spirit's book, and I said, this makes this is truism. But then when you say the truth from God, now this is where Spiritism probably will give you some problems, is that our understanding and comprehension of God, it's not going to happen to us. We're not going to be able to do it. We are too intellectually inferior to understand God. And what the spirits say is that if you want to begin to understand God, you have to understand Jesus Christ as a pure spirit. But there's also other pure spirits who are ministers of Jesus Christ, like Socrates and Buddha, right? Those people I was listening to. But what God has put into us as a truth is our conscience, which is a set of divine laws that becomes more broadened and filled in between the gray areas as you progress in life. So listen to your conscience and your instinct that you'll get as you come from life after life. So that's my opinion, and I'm sure you have your opinion. Okay, here's another question. I don't feel God is just or care when he allows more than 90% of the humans deceived by false religions and does not care to send his truth to reassure us if Spiritism was true. Why do we allow it? Let's finish that. Well, again, it's your own personal journey. And yeah, if you were in school and you had this test, you go, I don't think the teacher covered this on the test. Probably did, but or maybe not. But it was tougher than you wanted or felt. It's the same here. Life on earth is not meant to be easy and wonderful. And yes, we are not sent to absolute truth, as I discussed before. Everyone is on their own personal journey and their own personal transformation. And that is because you're here to rewire your brain and to rip out your primitive emotions. Now, why, right? Because in the spirit world, thought is action. And therefore, if you have pride or jealousy or hatred, selfishness, you're not going to go high in the spirit world. You'll be in the lower zone or whatever, because your brain, your thought creates things. And you want people like most of the people on earth who get jealous or mad at the drop of a hat to go to heaven and go, oh, I'm mad, I'm going to destroy that house, or I'll pulverize you. No, you can't allow that. And if God came down and said, hey, these are false religions, and here's the truth, it would not change your basic personality. I think the point is not to know the truth, although it's important. The point is to transform yourself into this more loving, wonderful person who is calm. The meek have to push over, like when Jesus said, the meek shall inherit the earth. He didn't say those are just going to be pushovers. Anyone can just tell them anything, like, here, give me your credit card. Okay. No. What he means by meek is people who can focus their energy and be maybe indignant, right? Because when you're indignant, say, nope, you're not going to do that. You're not loosing out your primitive emotions. You're focusing your willpower. And that's really what we're here. We're here to focus our willpower for the good, if possible, right? And not to allow these primitive emotions to swirl around and create disharmony and bad vibrations around us, and to affect other people. Because bad thoughts will go around out of your mind. They'll go collect other bad thoughts. They'll accumulate with other bad thoughts. They'll stick to other bad thoughts. Thoughts are material in a way, and they'll come back to you. And you need to learn how to get rid of those. And let me tell you, you're just not going to do that in a weekend. I've been going on for I don't know how many years, more than a decade, and I'm still sometimes drop in the gossip, which I shouldn't do, and I still have thoughts that are not as good as they should be. This is a multi-life journey. So You're going to be deceived by false religions. You're going to be deceived by false politicians. You're going to be deceived by bosses and managers and corporations that are going to lie to you. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to make you more experience and more ability and have more ability to spot that. Why do you need all this experience? Because when you graduate from the levels of heaven around the earth and you learn to control your mind, what are you going to encounter? Well, a lot of jobs in the spirit world are guiding human like races and cultures on other planets. And you have to know how to encounter and deal with these people who are thinking just the same primitive thoughts in irrational, wants, they want this perfect explanation, but they're not going to change themselves. They'll want that from you. Are you going to give it to them? Or are you going to understand that, I'm going to let you learn your own lesson. You made your bed and you have to live in it. It's all for purpose. This is the genius of the spirit world. And yes, it can be very unpleasant here. And you look at the chaos around you, and you look at these stupid countries making threats, and you look at these politicians are corrupt as you know what, right? And you go, oh, but remember this, not one of them will escape the divine justice. They'll all have to pay for everything they did, just like we will, right? We're not innocent. And they'll get karma, good karma too. They have to pay for everything in their future lives. There is nothing that's missed. Emanuel Swedenborg, great guy, he was talking about, it's not the deed, it's the thought. So he goes, here's an example. Let's say this guy does a good deed. The question is, why did he did a good deed? Did he do a good deed just for goodness' sake to help somebody? Or did he do it to make himself look good so people would vote for him? Or if it's a corporation, people would buy from him? Or he did a good deed for a person because he wanted to betray that person later and get trusted by that person? It's all eternal. It's all internal. And then, of course, the spirit world sees everything. We're an open book. Don't worry about privacy. That doesn't exist. Not on Earth. I hope that explains that. Okay, let me get to the great question, though. Okay, another one. I am a guy studied all religions, and I am certain that they're all false, not from God or the truth of God. I can't get my mind of God, but I can stop saying why we are fooled in all those religions. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, okay, there's good reasons why you're fooled, because let's take the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, when Jesus was first on the earth, right? They met in their homes. They believed in reincarnation, as told us by Spiritism. And if you look at things in the Bible, you'll see veiled references to reincarnation. In fact, Spiritism tells us that in the Council of, I can't remember when, but when they formalized the Bible, the people in charge said, we don't want any references to reincarnation, because then our slaves will think they could come back as nobles, and then they could look at us and think we could come back as slaves. We're not going to allow that. So what did the Catholic religion do? They made the people dependent upon them. And in fact, the Catholic Church, who took money from the poor, made these beautiful edifices, right? Were like, Spiritism says, or the spirit world said, why are you doing that? We don't care about wonderful edifices. This is like paganism. And even Socrates said that's one of the reasons he was killed by Athens. He says, God doesn't want sacrifices. He wants you to be a better person. Don't sacrifice an ox. Become a better person. That's what he wants. But of course, is there any money in that? Is there any money and power and fame in you becoming a better person? Or is there more power and fame and money when that, you have to come to our our service every week. Give us some of your money. And by the way, at some point in time, in some religions, right, the Catholic Church said, and we can absolve you of any sin. And also, religions will say this in the Protestant religion too, is if you just repent at the last moment, you'll be saved. No, you're still who you are. Your deeds are there. It's good that you repented. God bless you. And it's a good mark for you. But no, everything still, every cause, every effect and cause and action and reaction is still going to happen. So those religions, and I'm sure that like Buddhism, I mean, even Buddhism is corruption, right? Unfortunately. But they try to make it as pure as possible. Most religions started as a pure thing and trying to be a better person and being closer to the spirit world, being closer to God, right? But then humans, imperfect humans, enter the picture and they go, oh, I like to be dominated over people. I can make money from this. It's the same thing with political systems where you have all those isms, communism, fascism, socialism, whatever, right? And they all say, well, we're going to create this perfect utopia. Well, you could have whatever organization, if you had good, loving people in charge. But you don't. You have imperfect people. And whatever type of utopia you're going to make is all going to end up to be corrupt. The same thing for religions. I mean, who killed the most people in history? Religion and governments the government's actually kind of overtaken in the 20th century religion as far as killing more people. Is that what they're there for? I don't think so. So that's why we're fooled, because they know that most people want to be fed an idea. They want to give some sort of little allegiance or sign or wear certain clothes and made to feel better in their lives instead of doing the hard work and transforming themselves. Okay, let me get the next okay. You mean the point is changing yourself to be better, because people don't focus on religion that much, but on their life to be better. Yeah, I mean, Spiritism, look, in Spiritism, there's no priest or anything like that. There's Spiritist centers where you can go, you'll get a lecture about some aspect of Spiritism for half hour. You'll go, you get passes made, you can drink the water. And some of them will ask you for some money to help the poor and help their Spiritist center. But there's no like dress you have to do and penance or any of that type of stuff. It's all about self-improvement. And at the same time as you're improving yourself and you're rewiring your brain to rip out your primitive emotions. And spirits say that, right? Pain is a great teacher. You know, it's kind of sad to say that, but that's when you go through a trial and tribulation and you experience great pain, that's when you really soul search and change yourself. But so you improve yourself, and also you try and help others within your circle of influence. You try to do good in the world. So yes, that is the main point. Can I pray to God? Does he answer, or was that a lie by religions? Yes, you can pray, and you can pray. And what Spiritism tells us, let me get a drink. What Spiritism tells us is that every prayer is analyzed and taken care of in some way. Now, there was this wonderful, and I talk about this in my book, Heaven and Below, book 1 of Spiritism. And there's this marvelous thing, a spirit. We're talking to the Reverend G. Val Owen. And they'll say that prayers will come up into this big octagonal factory kind of thing with these like 8 walls. And you can see the prayers kind of going by in symbols on the walls. And spirits will go there and they'll go, oh, okay, let's say this prayer. Yeah, okay, we can send that over there. This over there. Oh, this has to go up a level. And it's not just prayers. It's like longings. Like if you're a scientist, you're working on something, and you're just thinking about it all the time, that will be interpreted as a prayer. If you're an atheist and you say, "Oh God, I wish I could help my Uncle Bob," right? That will be interpreted as a prayer. Because you don't have to be a spiritist, you don't have to be anything. As long as you're a good person, you're going to go to heaven. You don't have to be baptized. None of that. It's they want you to be a good person and try to help others and transform yourself. So now, the answer may not be what you think. The answer may be in subsequent lives, and you never know. But it will be answered if it is a worthy prayer. Now, if I was in a medium's meeting, and I think this is what happened because she said I was in a medium's meeting, and this trance medium, that's one that lets the spirit talk through them, and there's a consoling medium that talks to the trance medium, and she goes to this medium's, and she shows up as a spirit. She goes, Zika, Zika, Zika. This is back when Zika was a big thing in Brazil and actually part of the world. And she goes, I can't believe I died of Zika. Goes, I wanted my neighbor to die of Zika. So in her prayer, she wanted her neighbor, her passion was that her neighbor should die of Zika for some reason. I didn't hear that reason. I don't think we went into it. I think her prayer was answered in the twist that, oh, you get to die of Zika. So you never know. Now, one would have thought this woman, like, okay, you're in the spirit world. Can't you get a little bit wiser? And so this is like proof that we are who we were in the physical life and the spirit world. You don't, in the spirit life, you don't turn into this angel with a halo over you, like, oh, I'm all good now. No, you are who you were. Kind of sad in one part, but it all makes sense with reincarnation and karma and multiple lives. So yes, you can pray. And in fact, I say some of the hardest prayers to understand and to facilitate some sort of answer are prayers by children who can't even try to formulate what they really want. And that's usually put up to a higher place, but they are answered. And if you look in your life, you'll see that. To you, they will assume to be random occurrences. You're looking for a job, and then your Aunt Ellen calls up and say, I think so-and-so is looking for whatever. Oh, thanks, Aunt. And you got a job. You go, oh, thank heavens for Aunt Ellen. But who put that in Aunt Ellen's mind? This is how they work. They work indirectly. It's not like I have a prayer and then on the knock, an angel comes to your door and goes, oh, here's the answer to your prayer. No, it's indirectly. Let me give you an experience from my own life. We have a dog called Nevi. And we came home. There's no Nevi. Now, it was not a big deal because sometimes she'll escape and she'll wander around the neighborhood and she comes back when she darn well wants to, but she didn't come back. So we were all worried, and we walked around the neighborhood, and then we drove around the neighborhood. And then we the kids were like, oh, they're crying, all that. And then my son got a call from his friend. He goes, my mom was on this website, and she never goes on this website, but it is this veterinarian website, and someone picked up a stray dog, and now it's locked in a kennel at the vet's place. And so then, of course, we went to the vet's place. It was closed by then, but we said, Nevi, and we heard her bark, right? Okay, we'll get you tomorrow morning, and this will teach you not to escape. So then I went and talked to the woman. I said, thank you for calling. He goes, I know, because I never visit that website, but somehow I just did. And I knew that was your dog, Nevi. Now, was that just a complete out of the blue coincidence? So, and I think these little things mean more than the big things. You can talk about parting the Red Sea, right? But having someone call you out of the blue and never ever before going to this veterinarian website for no darn reason whatsoever and tell you your dog is there, those are like personal things. So that is those are some examples. Okay. Did did God spoke to people in the Bible, or are there all religions, or was it all myths? So this is what Spiritism tells us: is that spirits. Now, first of all, Spiritism says that when and people even now, prophets even now said God spoke to me. Well, no, Spiritism said no. God does not speak to us individually. It's spirits speaking to us. But people assume they are God, and the spirits will say, "No, no, I'm not. I'm just someone like you." But no, they let them have this misconception. So just want to make sure you understand that. Now, some people, of course, fantasize and have false visions, but what Spiritism tells us is that the spirits talk to these prophets and these people who wrote things down in the Old Testament, the New Testament, all this, and they speak to them in the culture and technological level that they're able to understand. And this is why you'll see things in the Old Testament are really cruel and mean, like go to that town and kill everybody. That's not a nice thing. You'll see this in other books too. But New Testament got a little bit nicer, and then Spiritism gives us more and more information. Spiritism gave us much more information about the processes and the working of heaven and all these other things because we were able to assimilate it better. We were able to understand it. And that's why I think that all this stuff about the spirit world and the processes, and now that we have smartphones and computers, we're able to probably not correctly, but directionally, as I talked about in my book, the spirit realm, to understand that must be the complexity of the spirit realm of this must be this huge dynamic complex database with live data, and us as personalities can roam through this live data, change programming as it goes. Yeah, I'm sure it's still beyond I'm trying to explain it as well as I can. And then here on earth, we're not really in a physical body, we're in a simulator thinking we're in a physical body. And that's why Spiritism says there's no miracles, there's just things you don't understand. So yes, the spirits talk to people that, and that's why you'll see things like the Golden Rule show up in Islam and Christianity and Buddhism and Confucianism and Zoroastrianism, is because not because these people cribbed from each other, they stole from each other. No, it's because they all came from under the leadership of Jesus Christ. These different messengers of Buddha, Socrates, et al., Zoroaster, saying, and of course they all kind of talk to the culture and technological advancement of their time in a little bit different manners, and that's why there's so much similarity between it. Okay, another question: are there angels and demons, or are they dead humans as spirits appear to us in visions or whatever? I mean, haunted houses are real. So angels are just higher spirits. So as you rise in the spirit level, you become more energy and less matter. So if I'm here on earth and I see someone from a higher level in the spirit world come and not willingly make themselves denser to be on my level, they will look really bright, and I'll look at them and I'll kind of see a fuzziness of their face, and it may look like they have wings, right? Because it's the light not emanating from them, but it's a light reflecting from them of the back atmosphere of the love of God. And so they appear really bright to us. If I was on the same level as that higher spirit, they would look completely normal. Demons are humans in the lower zone who are ignorant and haven't learned to let love into their heart. There's no all good or all bad. These people, in these poor spirits in the lower zone of the dark abyss, which is like a purgatory, there's no eternal punishment. They will be given chances to rise above. They may stay there for 10,000 years. They may stay there for 2 years. They may stay there for a month until they say, okay, oh, I'm with all these people that are just as mean and corrupt and cruel as I am. I don't like this. And that's how the spirit world fights evil. They use evil to fight evil. And therefore, when you're not a nice person, The law of affinity puts you with other people like you, and you go with other not nice people. You know, these dictators in North Korea, you don't want to be in their shoes, and they're going to be meaner guys in there than you are. So yeah, it's not going to be good. There are cruel Roman emperors have been in the lower zone, purgatory, for thousands of years. And I know one of them, they didn't tell the name, but they said, and the guy said, "Is that Nero?" He goes, "No, he has Nero. He tortures Nero every day." So it's probably like Tiberius or Caligula. Who knows? Forgive me if you're a great person now, because you probably are. Um, so yes, those are people like us. God did not make angels and did not make demons. Those are uh, spirits on different levels of spirit of maturity. And yes, they come into a vision. So spirits, it's kind of like that cartoon that you probably watch when you're a kid, where you've got the angel and the devil on your shoulders, and they're both trying to convince you to doing something. Of course, as a kid, you always pick the wrong choice. But we're here on this planet of atonement, and we're surrounded by low-level spirits who are giving us bad ideas all the time. We also have good experience trying to give us good inspirations. That's why we have to work on our brain and work on filtering everything through our conscience, right? If you feel stressed when you make a decision, it's probably the wrong decision. So they can, and people who have that talent can appear in visions or audible, right? If you read the medium's book, you'll see all the different ways. You'll hear it, right? You'll see it. And I know mediums that can see spirits. And so, yes, haunted houses are real. There are spirits that are locked. Like, let's say there's a haunted house where the murder took place. There's a spirit probably locked in this loop in his or her mind where they killed that person or were killed. It was something that is in a kind of a recurring feedback loop. And there's stories about this in spiritist literature. And then it's kind of escape. It takes a while. It could take years and years for them to escape. And then other spirits may come and try to help that person out of that loop. But yes, and some people with the ability to hear or see will see that spirit locked into that obsessive loop in that house or that particular area. Can we defend God's existence without having a book? Because they all call us atheists because we don't have a book. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Well, I'll just say you have a book. You've got a lot of books. You've got the Old Testament and New Testament. Spiritism says that the messages of love and charity and fraternity are eternal and should be listened to in those books. They're not, perfect, right? The other words. You've got the Spirit's book, and you have continual amount of information coming from spirits that are given to us by people after Allan Kardec, Leon Denis, Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, etc., Yvonne Pereira. Because, as spirits tell us, why, if you believe in the complete sanctity and the staticness of the Old and New Testament, does that mean God can't say anything? Can't tell you anything new? Jesus can't tell you anything new? Why are you trying to force the word of God into one point in time? Why are you trying to hold that marvelous entity into not telling you anything more? It makes no sense. That's what Spiritism tells us. No, you cannot hold God and say, okay, it's a nice 70 degrees Fahrenheit on the summer day, and that's the way it's going to be forever. No, weather will change. It will change. Our technology and our culture will change. Our whole culture, before us, we had the Atlanteans, the Lemurians. Cultures rose and became technologically advanced, but spiritually not. They just brought them all down. They're going to bring them back up again. Now, hopefully, we are on the path to be a planet of regeneration, and we'll be really starting that in the mid-2050s. But yes, we have books, but we're not tied to a static anchor. That is what I would use. We're tied to continual information coming to us from spiritist mediums, into our own meditation and prayer, into our own internal journey towards being a pure spirit. Okay. I said, I don't know how or what to do as a start to be a spiritist. I like guidance and order. So, one, as you're here, I live stream every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I would recommend you download my free PDF, Spiritism 101. And then, really, what you do is you read and then you think about it. You carve out time in your life to, and then, then read the Spirit's book and think about the answers to the questions. And what we do, I don't know if you have a family or there's other people with you, but there's God at Home. So let's say every Tuesday night at 7:00, you go through the Spirit's book or any other spiritist literature. You first you say a prayer. You put water in the middle of your table. You then you read a passage. You discuss it. And then sometimes it'll be like my family does. We'll take the Spirit's book and we'll show a question and we'll go, okay, what do you think the answer is in the Spirit's book? And then they go, well, I think the Spirits would say this. And we'll go, yeah, they did. Or no, well, they kind of said this. And then you say a prayer afterwards and you take the water in the middle of your table and you drink it because the Spirits magnetize it. And you'll feel, if some people can, some people can't. But in our God at Home, I can feel the presence of spirits. You have to do this several times to have a habit, the same time and the same day of the week. So they know that you're there to help you and you'll be guided. So pray and meditate, you'll be guided, but start reading and studying and read for understanding, which is entirely different than reading for entertainment, right? Read for understanding. And believe me, I've read like No Solar, the Spirit's book, multiple times. And if you don't like to read, I know sometimes it's hard. I have the Spirit's book, every chapter in the Spirit's book in the playlist on YouTube. And I also have it in MP3 and in Audible format in my blog site, www.nwspiritism.com. You can download that for free again. So, and then all of Allan Kardec's books are available and free on PDF. But you can, and of course, I have books. If you want to get those, go to my site, read The Spirit Realm. It gives it a quick not a quick overview, but a good overview of what the Spirit Realm is, how you can improve yourself. Another one to really understand is to read my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism. That is was given to us by Andre Luis, the spirit that talked to Chico Xavier. It was like a 24-step guide of how to improve yourself while you're on Earth. I would recommend that to how you can actually start transforming your brain. I hope that helps. Next question. Is being atheist harm you during your lifetime? I feel it's very harmful. Well, if you're a good person, the answer, okay, let me answer this correctly. If you're a good person, you'll go to heaven. But if you're an atheist, and remember, thought is action in the spirit world. And so, yes, you feel it's harmful. I'll tell you why you feel it's harmful. Because you intuitively know that thought is action in the spirit world. And if you're a completely dedicated atheist and you have no doubt that when you're dead and you're asleep forever, what happens is when an atheist dies, they'll just be there and their body will be like stiff, they'll be asleep. So the spirits have to take them to like a spiritist hospital in the spirit world. You have to put magnetic passes around them and to get them out of that sleep. And you could be years in that state. So I try to tell atheists is that try to keep a little open mind, have some expectation that you might come to another world, and then everything will be fine. Then you'll figure out everything. But if you really are dedicated and you reject anything having to do with a higher spiritual authority, yeah, then you could be laying in a state of like a coma for I don't know how many years. Some it's quite long. So so saying I'm an atheist, there's no harm in that, as long as you have that realization that things should change. The main thing is, are you a good person? There's a lot of good people that don't believe in God, don't believe in a higher being. God bless them. Not going to stop them, right? That's what you're here for, to be a good person. Um, Joseph, have you come across any medium that said the jab, we're on YouTube, was made with bad intentions? A psychic told me yesterday that it will have long-term effects on those who take it. Now, I've got some messages from the spirit world way when this whole thing started, and what they said is fear is what's going to make you sick and going to make you die. And if you don't have fear, you don't need, then just take your medicine, but you don't have to have the jab, and that it's not necessary. I haven't heard that was made with ill intentions, but I know, but I suspect, in my own opinion, only, I suspect it was made at the very least for profit, and it's not effective. That's just my opinion. Everyone should do their own research, and I believe it will, like anything else, any medicine has side effects, and people should explore those and not listen to the mainstream media. And I've said that in my and other videos I've done, is turn off the mainstream media. All they tell you are bad things to put fear into your heart. That's really what they want to do. They want to put fear into your heart. So you tune in again and say, oh, is the fear over yet? Oh, nope. I got to keep listening. There's still fear. Oh, commercials, right? Don't listen to them. Turn them off. Look at alternative methods like here on YouTube and BitChute and Rumble. YouTube's getting really dodgy. They try to filter out any type of real truth. But so, yeah, it's up to you. Some people have, and what the Spirit said is, don't live in fear. And he said that when this whole thing is over, you'll understand why it was here. Now, it's been 2 years, and I believe I'm understanding why it was here. I think, one, it taught us that how much power corrupts. It has exposed a whole legion of politicians that say they follow the science, but really all they want is absolute power. I think it's made people aware that they're living in this fantasy world of where they think, oh, this government loves me. No, they don't. You are a tool for them, and they want to keep you in your straight and narrow, what they want you to do. I think that is the case. They also said that some people will be taken away by this sickness because the spirit world wants them to be taken away because they have something for them to do in the next life. And they said, that's your time. Do it. And I'll give you an example of that. The great medium, Brazilian medium, Francisco Chico Xavier, who's written a lot of great books, had a spirit mentor called Emmanuel. And he dictated quite a lot of books, and one of them was 2,000 years ago. It's behind me. He lived a life. He went to Brazil, and this is originally Chico Xavier's Brazilian, and so this is in Portuguese. He went to Brazil at the end of the 19th century, and he only lived till like he was 20 or 21, I forgot. Lived a very short life, but there's a reason. He was just there to learn modern Portuguese. He was actually part of he was a Jesuit priest, part of the people that actually founded Sao Paulo, one of those guys. But he spoke very old Portuguese. They said, no, you're going to go to Earth for a while, learn how to speak modern Portuguese, so you can dictate these books in the right, in the right idiom. So the other thing is, death is nothing to be afraid of. In fact, the spirits tell us that death is easier than birth. Birth is really traumatic. Death is easier. So, yes. Okay. Almost out of time here. So, did God say he is God, or did the apostles make him one, or did the OT teachings say that? I'm not sure about OT teachings. And did he walk on water? Okay, so I don't know. I think Jesus came with a great preparation of what he wanted to do. And I could go for a long time on this one. It's Jesus came at the right time, at the right moment, in the right place to make us think about the next step above the first revelation, which was Moses. And to go through and really say, okay, paganism, Rome, you're kind of cruel, barbaric, time to change. And this will spread to the world. So now, all these miracles that happen, and did he walk on water, and did he feed the masses with 6 loaves of bread and so many fish? This is where to begin to understand the spirit world is a logical conception, and that we live in a simulation on earth. And that Jesus knew all this, and that think of it this way. You have a video game on your smartphone, and your little avatar, you'll say, oh, go across the water, go to this bridge. And your avatar's walking on this path, and he gets on a ferry, and he goes across the water and then goes to another city. Now, did that avatar really do that? No, it was all programmed. It was all change of state, change of scenery around that avatar, right? Now, you're Jesus Christ, and you have great power. You're the administrator of this game on earth. If you want to calm the wind, you calm the wind. You want to walk on water, you change the parameters for your character so you can do that. You want people to believe they're eating even with 6 loaves of bread, or you actually want to create bread out of nothing? You have the ability. Once you understand that Earth is an educational campus and that we are in a simulation, these miracles aren't miracles at all. They are changes in state. They are manipulation of data. And they are all there, just like a simulator. A pilot goes to a simulator. The simulator isn't like, oh, let's have this lovely view and glide into this airport, right? No, everything bad can happen. You'll go through all these experiences. We're the same way. We're going through all these experiences. We're learning, we're changing, we're transforming. So I know this sounds outlandish, but it all makes sense when you understand the whole process of reincarnation and karma, to start us off from very simple, logical personalities to more complex, more nuanced, more loving, caring personalities. That we had these primitive emotions when we were first out there in these tribal lands, right? Because it served us well, and we were in animals because we survived. And now it's time to change ourselves. And all this is part of creating unique personalities and creating people for the better. So deal with that, think about that. Okay. John in Revelation said he saw Jesus in the vision, opening the book of life, and then coming in on the cloud to us to judge us. Did the spirit realm deceive him? No, in fact, the spirit realm said John was really up there. Now, they do say, God, there's great questions here. They do say that with his physical brain, he couldn't understand a lot of things he saw. And then when he saw, and then most of the things in Revelation have already happened. Let me give you the example of 666, the mark of the beast. And I don't remember this. I'm not going to say this correctly. 666 represented the Pope. And they said, okay, this is how, if you take the 3 Latin names of the Pope, because Latin was used then, and you take, and I have this in an article in one of my books. I can't remember where now. And it's on my blog. If you do a search engine for that, you take the 3 names of the Pope, like Captain of Christ and things like that, and you take the Roman letters and you make them Roman numerals, you'll get 666 for each one of them. A lot of math in there, and 30 years or 30 months or whatever. And they said, if you take 30 years and you take it by number of days, that was from when the Pope first started to when the Pope said he was infallible, not infallible, sometime in the 19th century, and that was the exact time. And then also, I thought really interesting when John said he saw, what he thought was God or some, and speaking, and then these like lightning or swords came out of his mouth. What's really interesting is that, and I later read, is that when a spirit communicates, they will put, through thought, right? But they'll also send you images. And when they send images, it's like a little white light for a little bit coming out of your mouth. They're like, and that will look like a sword or lightning. So he saw that. So yes, he misinterpreted a lot, like anyone does. That's why, some people say, well, prophet, you're wrong. You didn't say this exact thing, or it didn't happen on September 13th. And first of all, they're not going to give you dates because dates are hard to figure out in the spirit world. There's no time there. And it's so open to misinterpretation. So be kind to these guys. Okay, here's another. Hi. Really enjoy your trilogy of books. So a while back, you mentioned in an email about how you had read selections from the Urantia book. Let me carry on. What does Spiritism say about this book? And would you be open to interfacing with the Urantia book believer, not me, like trying to find common ground, etc.? So yes, I've read the Urantia book. Very interesting. Spiritism says it is a classic case of a spirit thinking that they knew all the answers, and then one medium talking to one spirit. This is why I believe Spiritism is a little bit more complete than spiritualism, or people who are just channeling one spirit, because mediums in Spiritism will make sure they understand the level of the spirit. They will look at what the spirit says in combination from what Allan Kardec first got from multiple spirits again. Now, some of the things are when Christ was talking about, how to behave and how to be better. I thought those were very revealing and very wise things that were in the Urantia book. So yeah, I'd be happy to. Now look, it's been quite a few years. So I don't remember it like I did before. So we'd have to go through explanations. But sure, I would. I'd love to. There's a lot of common ground there. We hold God words because the Bible says nothing else will come from God. Wait for Jesus. Yeah, I know, and I think that's a misconstruing of what was said. And I do know that the Bible says things like, don't talk to spirits. The churches say don't talk to spirits, and I understand why, because you have to educate yourself. There's different levels of spirits, and so yes, people will interpret it that way. God bless them, and if they're good people, there's nothing wrong in that. But I believe that the words from the spirit world and from the spirits who are part of the legion of working for Jesus, or in the areas of heaven surrounding the earth, he's also in charge of other planets too, by the way, are continually giving us information. The spirit guided me to this live stream. Yeah, I mean, that's how it works. Isn't that amazing? How, you'll all of a sudden you'll be guided to this little piece of information. You go, oh, I think that's how I found out the spirits book. Because when I was looking for a reason of how could something happen to me that was said like 15 years ago to my wife, and she, with great specificity, and I said, okay, if there's really predestination and things can happen in the future with this specificity, there's got to be something superior up there. Because before, I believe in God, but I believe we were just in this planet, no one cared about, right? So yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And it was on my mind last night. Yeah, it's just simply amazing, is it not? Yes, the last section, that attributes a lot of content to Jesus' time on earth is very fascinating. I agree, it's very fascinating. I think a lot of it is not correct, but his kind of a how to explain this? His kind of his moral teaching and the teaching of if I remember correctly, like being in the present and things like that. I thought it were very wise, and it is fascinating. I totally agree with that. I wasn't raised as a Christian. I studied Islam. It is an evil religion. Christianity, most of it is great, but I said it's not the truth, so I can't follow that. Do you think I should do? I think that's up to you. You have to take all of this with anything that's written by humans and used by humans. You need to put it through your conscience, and it's not like you've done that already. You're saying like, no, I don't believe that part, right? And if you really want to know more about how Islam was done, read the book "On the Way to the Light" by Francisco Xavier. Go to my blog site, and you'll go on the picture of Allan Kardec, and you'll go to the FEB bookstore. You'll find that book, "On the Way to the Light." So I think that you should take what you believe and your conscience tells you is the words of love, fraternity, and charity, the eternal words, right? From anywhere you want to see it. Buddhism, which is very close, because all these religions, they're all given to us by Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the governor, the CEO, the leader of our planet. And spirits say we are so lucky to have someone like Jesus Christ. So meditate and pray, and you'll be led to what you should do. I don't want to tell you. The spirits will know better how you should proceed. And then Jean said, I know a Muslim who prayed to God. Jesus appeared to him, so he realized he is God. Then he became a Christian. Does the spirit realm deceive him because Christianity faults as well? Yeah, and that's spirits will do that. That's what I think with prophets is like, oh, I talked to God or I talked to Jesus. Our prophets will go into heaven and they'll say these things, and most of the time they're right, but then I'll see little things that I could be wrong too, right? But from what I read, I disagree with them, and that is because. So this is important. Let me give you an example of Edgar Cayce, a very well-known American prophet, right? He was a staunch Christian, did not believe in reincarnation. But then he came back with all these things with people saying, you were on Atlantis and you did this, and now you're this. And finally, at the end, he says, yeah, I guess there's reincarnation. Now, at any time, the spirits that talked to him said, Edgar, there's reincarnation. You don't know what you're talking about. But they didn't. This is where this whole thing about, why doesn't God tell us there's God? They're not going to, if you have a misconception, they're going to let you figure it out. And this is what happened to Paul. There's a great thing called Paul and Stephen, a book by Emmanuel. And Stephen was that one of the first martyrs, right? He was stoned to death. Well, when Paul was met on the road to Damascus, Jesus talked to him. But then after that, the spirit that talked to him, he thought it was Jesus the whole time, right? It was really Stephen. Jesus is busy. He'll talk to you through other people, other wonderful, loving spirits. So they will not, if you have this misconception, they will not say, no, you're totally wrong. That's not how it works. It could be frustrating. Like, why don't they just tell us the truth? Because it's just like that teacher's not going to give you the answer. Sorry. But yeah. Interesting, isn't it? When you start learning all this. I think they saw Jesus walk on water and rose from the death in visions, but these visions were too strong to them till it became physical to them. Yeah, that's probably true. Okay. Say, you are making me convert to Christianity. Can I fool myself and believe in Jesus as my God and died for me and being a spiritist simultaneously? Absolutely. You can be a Buddhist simultaneously and get what you want. In fact, this is what Spiritism says. Spiritism says it's a doctrine, not a religion. And in fact, what will happen in the future is the major religions will take the basic tenets of Spiritism, reincarnation, karma, all those type of things, and they will start believing in those. So absolutely. And then you said, hey, man, I was guided to you today too. Yeah, see, you never know how these things work. Isn't it amazing? I am telling you, Jesus is the best guy in all religions. They all wish I could defend Christianity, but Jesus is a mysterious figure, but yet a great one. Yeah, I mean, he is a mysterious figure. But I would, if you really want to know more about Jesus, I would read this book where I talk a lot about Jesus, Heaven and Below. I talk about heaven, Jesus in the lower zone, and of course, this is in Audible too, paperback, but it's also in Kindle. But it's in Audible format. If I know a lot of people here come from different languages, and reading English is like I can listen to Portuguese, not very well. My wife helps me, but I can't really enjoy reading Portuguese. And I understand a lot of people don't really want to read English. So, and sometimes listening is better. And he deserves worship. Yes, Jesus does deserve. I mean, he is just amazing. And there's people talk about seeing him in spirits, seeing him in heaven, and how he shows himself. Okay, so I went over like almost half hour. Thank you so much for everyone that's being here. I really appreciate it. These are all great questions. Um, Please, if you can, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when I live stream. And then if you want to contact me with email or whatever, go to my blog, nwspiritism.com. Go to the About Me contact section, and you can send me an email from there. I don't want to put my email in public, right? Because you get all sorts of spam. But then I'll email you back with my direct email, and we can even talk on a Skype or whatever, right? So anyway, I want to thank everyone, and thank you, Gene, and thanks everyone for being here. God bless you all.